Thank you, Katie, for that. And so good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight and looking forward to seeing everyone. I'm glad that you could make it. This is a little different for us for Smokehouse in the sense that we don't do a lot of virtual events anymore. And so we're now able to do this today. And thanks to Mike Ginter of AOPA for joining us to take the time to spend with us this evening versus in person. I know, Mike, you were actually you stopped in at a speak out, I guess, what it was like, what, 5, 6 months ago, or was it a little bit longer than that, if I
Yeah, I
recall?
joined you for a night at the Wing Factory, and it was kind of it might have been a pre-winter night, but it wasn't a huge crowd. But it was a good time to see the Smokehouse Pilots in action. It was great.
Yep. Yep. So thank you for doing that. And so just so that everyone knows, I'm going to give another minute or two, maybe 2 or 3, just to let everybody in. And just so everyone knows, we are, number one, recording this, and we also are live streaming this. And unfortunately, I don't know really what's going on, but had a problem live streaming this into the Smokehouse page. And so what we might do is try to take that and copy that link into that. But a little technical difficulty. So this is streaming on my personal page. So anyways, just to let everybody know that is the case. So if anybody wants to come off mute, say hello, please do, and have as interactive as possible. If anyone's out there, is Lori Seymour, are you out there? Maybe, maybe not.
I'm here. Hi, Gabe.
How are you?
Good. How are you? This is Lori from Boston, everybody.
Lori,
Lori,
There's
thanks
my
for
little plane in the background.
nice.
love it. I'm so glad I saw you sitting in the waiting room. So thanks for being early. I appreciate that, and thanks for having patience on that too.
Problem.
So good to see you. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Anyone else want to come off and just say hello? Feel free. And I'm really glad that all of you have joined us tonight. One thing I'll just ask, Adrian, if you're online here, if you could take that link that is on the live stream at the moment and see if you could take that and post that in the Smokehouse, that would be helpful. I don't know if I can do it at the moment, but if we can try that out, that would be great. So with that said, I think that what I'd like to do is, first of all, anyone that is online, if you're able to hear, or if you want to take off your camera, anyone that's this first time joining us on a speak out tonight, is anybody's first time tonight? I do see some hands. I see some hands. So that's good. Thank you for being online with us first time. And again, you know, these things we do every first Wednesday of every month. And so most of the time it's in person. Specifically during COVID, it was online, of course. And so we got some traction on that. And so then, of course, we went back into the in-person things. And so it's kind of cool to be able to now reach out even further and extend out just versus just locally here. Even those that are local that are tuning in, thank you so much. So with that said, I do want to get us kicked off. And again, thank you, Mike Ginter, for being with us tonight. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow night, but I'm looking forward to hearing everything you have to share with us this evening. And if we were able to, we'll give you a round of applause for joining us tonight. But we'll kick it over to you, Mike, and go from there.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm just curious, who all is not from the Northern Virginia area on the call, and just jump in, unmute yourselves, and just getting a feel for. I saw Lori's up in Boston. Who else is out and about and not in Northern Virginia? Just curious.
I'm not. I'm
Neil,
Neil.
Where are you from?
Orlando, Florida.
Outstanding.
Cool. So Boston, Orlando. Where else we got?
Southwest Virginia.
All right.
Southwest Virginia. Cool. Richard, by the way, Landis Field, is that correct? Is that what it, or Horseman Ranch?
That's it, VG16.
That's right. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm going to try to fly the Cub in there in May. Hopefully I'll be able to make it.
Super. We're expecting a lot of people this year. So
Awesome.
we're looking forward to seeing everybody, just keeping our fingers crossed about the weather.
What's the name of the
sir.
event, Richard?
It's the 4th annual Flying Horseman Fly-In.
You said
Last
you're
year-
Southwestern Virginia. You sound like you're up near Boston area.
Well, I was in New York for many years. We moved down here about 10 years ago.
All right.
But last year we had about 140 planes that flew in and about 100 people that camped out. And we had a total of 500 people that showed up for the event.
Good. Very good. I saw a Navy picture there a minute ago. Mr. Chen, where are you from?
Ha. So I'm only look like I'm in the Navy. I'm actually in the public health service. I'm out of the Trenton, Philadelphia area.
Very good.
And I see Dan Friedman, who is also logged in. He's a high school friend of mine, and he's the one who actually dragged me into this group.
Great. Great. Welcome aboard.
Awesome. Anywhere else? Anywhere else out there? Andrew Kreider, I wanted to say hello. I see you out there. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, if that counts as being outside of North.
Awesome.
Good deal. Well, I love to see the Smokehouse Pilots with such a big reach. It's what are you guys up to now? What's your member count, Gabe?
Well, we have what 5,800 people in the group on the Smokehouse Facebook page, and then we've got a few thousand on our distribution list of emails. And so yeah, so it's growing. So we're looking forward to going down to Sun and Fun next week and kicking off our podcast Hangar Flying. So if anyone of you are out there, definitely take a look at that. It's on our website now, and we'll be launching that next week. So lots of cool conversations to come.
Very good stuff. Well, I'll kick off and share my slides if it's all right, Gabe.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Let me see here if I get this done right. Okay, share that one. Gabe, tell me if that comes in.
I've got the PowerPoint. It's not in presentation mode, but I do have the PowerPoint.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes, sir. Looks good to me.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be invited, Gabe. I've been a follower for a couple of years, I guess, and I did come to one of the events you have at the Buffalo Wing Factory, and it's all good. And I can't wait to see you guys down in Sun and Fun. I'll be there all week working at the AOPA tent, so I'll stop by and say hello to you guys for sure. So,
thank you.
yeah, so a little bit about myself. So my job in AOPA is the Vice President of Airports and State Advocacy, which means I work in government affairs. We have about a 12-person staff down in DC at the corner of Pennsylvania and Constitution. And if you are a member and you're in the area, you want to stop by, all you got to do is get a hold of me and I'll escort you in and let you fly the sim and give you a little tour of DC office and some of the history we have down there. But it's a nice place, not too far from the Capitol. My boss does all the work on Capitol Hill. My job as a lobbyist is all the state legislatures, and of course my team does all the airport advocacy around the country. And that's been a booming business, keeps us all busy. I have a team of 8 people that help me with airports and state lobbying. I'm also a pilot. I'm a commercial pilot, instrument rated, graduated from Embry-Riddle in 1983, the Daytona campus, and went on to fly S-3 Vikings in the Navy. Joined the Navy for hopefully 5 years to get my hours and go to the airlines. And I utterly failed because I stayed for 27 years and did 5 deployments on carriers, commanded a squadron, and had a pretty good time. So I did that till 2010. Then I did another 7 years in the Pentagon as a civil servant working for the Secretary of Defense. And I kind of got tired of that and wanted to get back to my GA roots. So I saw the job at AOPA and I jumped. And it's been the best 6 years so far. My second career really started 6 years ago. I don't count the 7 years I got stuck with the Pentagon. But I've got about 5,500 hours, 555 missions off carriers, and once I retired, I was able to feed my real passion, which was to buy a T6. That was me flying my T6 Texan. I had that for about 12 years. Kept it at Culpeper, Virginia. And that's what got me into a bunch of formation flying and formation check pilot. Ended up being the president of North American Trainer Association for a couple of years. And sold that airplane in 2017 and did the job transition. And in 2021, I bought the Bonanza on this picture, which is Tom Haynes, the former senior editor at AOPA. It was his airplane for 20 couple of years. So I'm now flying that about 125 hours a year. And I was just telling Gabe tonight before the call, just 3 weeks ago, my wife convinced me that it's smart for her to buy a 172. She's got 20 hours of dual and has passed her written and like every other student pilot, was getting very frustrated with the slow rate of accumulation of instruction. So we bought a 172 3 weeks ago down in Lakeland, flew it back up here to Maryland, and she's getting ready to start in about 2 weeks with a full-time instructor and get her finished up. So we are now a 2 airplane family, which means I am officially broke, and I'm broke and happy, so it's all good. A little bit about me. I'm going to cover a few global things for AOPA, just kind of give you the state of general aviation from our perspective. And then I'm going to talk about a couple specific things, and then I'll take questions. And the sky's the limit there. So I'll ask Gabe or whoever on your staff, maybe help. If you want to drop a question in the chat, it's probably the best way to do it. And then Gabe can help me go through those, and I can answer them all towards the end. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat, please, and we'll get to it at Q&A time. And by all means, if something's really exciting to you, want to talk about it, come off of mute and share with me your questions. No problem. So the first thing I'm quite proud to say is that general aviation safety has never been better. Never been better. We are the safest we've ever been, and it's trending even safer. The accident rate is going down for accident rates and for fatal accidents. And that's certainly not just AOPA's doing. It's the state of all of us are doing it through a bunch of things. Better technology in the cockpit, moving maps, better training, better availability of online safety material. I know that our Air Safety Institute puts out a whole bunch of material, and they're getting about 12 million hits a year on some of their safety products, which is incredible. If you think about the number of pilots in this country, I think it's in the neighborhood of 700,000. You have to believe there's a lot of non-pilots that are consuming that material online, which is great. It gets them involved, gets them excited, and lets them know it's safe to get in. I can tell you, as a state level lobbyist and airport advocate, my team deals with lots of community perceptions near airports or elected officials with perceptions of aviation that is frankly not supported by the truth. The truth is we've never been safer, and we're getting even safer. And that's in an accident rate that's going down at a time when the flight operations are actually going up. So about 26 million flight hours a year last year, and about 30 million operations, takeoffs and landings, and that's up from 2020. So we're doing pretty good as a community, and we should obviously all strive to keep doing well, but the record speaks for itself, and that's right here. If you want more information on the GA safety, I would encourage you to check out the AOPA website and download the NOL report, which we just renamed this year, the Richard G. McSpadden Safety Report. And that's incredibly detailed if you want to dive into the numbers, but this is the top line here. So we are safe, and it's something that we as pilots should be happy to tell anybody that asks us what's going on with general aviation safety and what about that crash I just heard about last week on the TV, and be confident when you tell them it's never been safer and the accident rate's going down. So it's about half of what it was in the early 90s, which is pretty good for us. This chart's kind of an eye chart, and I'm not going to cover everything, but this is the entire waterfront of what our government affairs division is focusing on all throughout the year, this and other things. I'd say the biggest thing we're working on this year for our members is to get a really good FAA Reauthorization Bill. And if you don't know, FAA gets authorized on a 5-year authorization. The last one was 2018, so 2023, September 31st, that authorization expired. And the money for the FAA has been continuing on what's called continuing resolutions. The House of Representatives passed a very strong FAA reauthorization bill back in June of 23. It was on track to get done in the Senate, and it got delayed there for many months, which led to the need for a continuing resolution, which has always passed. The FAA has always been funded. But now the Senate Commerce Committee and the Senate at large has moved their bill forward, and it's in the process of being reconciled with the House version in conference committee. And someday soon, we don't know when, but there will be a merged bill that will be voted on in both houses, and out will come a new FAA authorization. It'll then be signed by the president. It then has to get appropriated for the actual funds actually be spent. So by the probably middle of 24 is my guess, we'll have a new FAA authorization and appropriated funds. What makes that exciting is for the first time ever, we general aviation pilots have a huge amount of benefits coming in the FAA Reauthorization Bill. So big that it's about 200 pages of content in an 800-page bill, and it's called the General Aviation Title. We have Sam Graves and Garrett Larson to thank for that. Both aviators, both of them are the chair and ranking member of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. And Sam Graves is an avid pilot and really had his heart set on doing things good for general aviation. So we have a GA title, which is a quarter of the bill. That's never happened before. And we, AOPA, put a bunch of our priorities in there. And I'm quite happy to report that in my circle of AOPA's advocacy, airports and state advocacy, for airports, the number one problem we've been chasing for 6 years at airports is what every pilot knows to be true, which is there's a hangar shortage. I mean, if anybody's been on a hangar waiting list, it takes months, sometimes years. And when I first took this job, I knew that to be true, but I started looking around at the other associations, some of the government think tank products and documents and studies that are out there. And I tried to find the ground zero for what's the story on the hangar shortage, the general aviation hangar shortage, and it doesn't exist. So my team and I endeavored to create that database, and we've conducted about 7 state surveys of all airport managers. In several of those states, we did pilot surveys as well. And we also sent the survey out to our airport support network of about 2,300 volunteers. So we've accumulated a fairly strong statistical confidence on what we think the hangar situation looks like in the country. And long story short is, we were right. There is a hangar shortage. 71% of airport managers report a waiting list. And those same airport managers have land at the airport that can be developed. And they also say that they would build hangars, except for they have no money. They can't find the funding to do it. And right now, hangars, T hangars specifically, are extremely expensive, probably 50% more expensive than they were 5 years ago, due to a number of things. But the point is airports, whether they're owned by the city, the county, or an airport authority, generally will be reluctant to invest in hangars when they have other more pressing needs, like pavement replacement or obstruction removal, or there's a lot of challenges that airport managers deal with, and hats off to them. They do a great job. So knowing that there's a hangar shortage and there's opportunity and demand signal, and the limiting factor is funding, we were able to put into the House version of the FAA Reauthorization Bill general aviation T hangar funding. And it's about $34 million a year, or $170 million over the 5-year authorization. And I'm excited about that. If you know that there's 5,100 public use airports, and about 3,400 of those are federally funded through what's called the NIPIAS, and Airport Improvement Program funding. 3,400 airports are eligible for federal funding. 34 million for T hangars is a drop in the bucket. But by our math, about 22 or 23 airports will be selected by the FAA to get a new T hangar, 11 unit T hangar complex. And we've been advocating fiercely that if you want to solve the T hangar problem, the hangar shortage, it's T hangars, it's not big box hangars. Pilots want T hangars. They want a man cave. They want a place to, or person cave. They want to be able to put their tools in there and their oil and things they need to work on their airplane and wash it and shine it and change the oil or whatever. So T hangars are the answer, and I'm thrilled that we got that into the House bill, and I'm fingers crossed that it'll survive the conference committee. So we'll all find out at the same time if the hangar funding gets included in the final bill to be enacted. If it does get included, we have no reason to believe it won't. We're already working with the Office of Airports for the FAA to help them understand what was behind this legislation and how for them to solve the problem now and maybe suggest ways to pick the right airports. So I mentioned that because that's one of the 11 or 12 incredible things for GA that are coming in this bill. So keep your eyes open for when the FAA authorization bill gets enacted, and I would strongly encourage you to read the summary of it. I'm sure AOPA and many other news houses will put out some summaries of that, but that's important for us, and it does a lot of great things.
Hey, Mike, real quick,
Sure.
do you mind if I just kind of ask a question that came through? It's
Yeah.
timely. One question was, is there a place you know that we can download that bill and pursue the language? You just mentioned that your AOP will probably be putting it out. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, sir. The easiest way to do it is exactly how I do it when I want to find it at work. Google FAA Reauthorization Bill 2023. And up will pop many versions. If you want to see the version that was passed by the House, you can Google House version FAA Reauthorization Bill.
Cool.
Ironically, the Senate version is Senate Bill 1939. Happens to be the year AOPA was founded. It's just purely a coincidence, but you could also look at the Senate version that's going through various levels of committee work. But that's the best way to get it. And you might also, in that Google search, you'll have many responses from articles that have been done, and those are excellent ways to see the high points. So, good question.
Do you mind if I ask you another question real quick on this topic?
Absolutely.
So, I don't want to throw you off, but is there a way to regulate the use of hangars to avoid people using them for storage and household goods? How many hangars are actually used for aircraft ops? Do you have that data?
That's excellent questions. The first question is, what can we do to stop the improper use of hangars? And the second question was, how many are being actually used for airplanes? So second question first. We don't have a clue how many aren't being used for actual aircraft. And there is an FAA policy that's out there that clarifies the proper use of an aircraft hangar. And that was actually changed about 5 years ago in the last reauthorization bill. We worked with Congressman Graves to get some language in that fixed a few things, like airports all over the country were 5-6 years ago not allowing kit-built airplanes to be built in a hangar. And Congressman Graves helped us define that as an aeronautical use. It's clearly an aeronautical use to use your hangar to maybe final assembly or work on building an airplane. The policy that was updated with Congressman's help clearly says that an airworthy airplane, or if you're building one nearly so, needs to be in that hangar. And I'll tell you, as an airport advocate and a hardcore pilot for 42 years, I want, and I'm sure you all want, airworthy aircraft in those hangars. And airport managers want that because they're buying fuel, they're consuming airport services, they're increasing the operations count, which improves the funding eligibility. There's all goodness comes from airworthy airplanes in the hangars. I have no clue how many airports report the quantity of the hangars that aren't compliant with that FAA policy. I'll also share with you that as a member organization, we do everything we can to help pilots. And it's been my decision not to push that one too hard with respect to the hangar use policy. If we push that really hard to airport managers around the country, it's really going to come down on our members that are going to be, found to be not in trouble. So we are strongly encouraging all pilots to do their part and make their hangar used for an airworthy airplane or one nearly so. And we all know the example of people who have an old dilapidated Luscombe wing in the back, no covering on it, and then the pop-up campers in there, the boat motor and the snow plow in the summertime. It's stored there, and then people use it as a low-cost storage unit, and that doesn't do anybody any favors. So we haven't pushed that one too hard, but when we talk to airport managers, we mention it as a best practice. If they are telling us they have a hangar waiting list, first thing we ask them is, when's the last time you validated the list? Is it current? And you should know how long it takes. If you're number 5 on the list, how long is it going to take me to get a hangar? The second thing we ask them is, when's the last time you conducted a hangar inspection? I'll tell you that if they get federal funds, they're required to comply with that hangar use policy. And if they don't get federal funds, it's still important to do it so they can get airplanes that are buying fuel and consuming airport services and kind of honor that policy. So those are the answers I can offer you guys, and I'll be happy to take suggestions, but we're reluctant to come down heavy on airport managers because it's just going to come down to our members, and we got to be careful about that. So we're trying to encourage everybody to do their part, clean up the hangar and put an airplane in there.
Thank you for answering that.
Any other questions we can clear up now?
Let's see. I think we're pretty good. Let's see. As someone who works a federally funded airport, the report publicly available to read it on airport hangar shortages. No, James, if you're online. If you want.
Yeah, that's sorry, Gabe. My brain was not working as fast as I typed. So I was wondering, is the report from AOPA that says there is a hangar shortage, is that publicly available?
We've done some stories on that, James. We didn't publish a report yet. We were scrambling to get the state surveys complete so we could feed the results to congressmen and senators as we were getting this provision into the House Reauthorization Bill. So that was a successful effort. I don't know if we're going to write a report. We've done several stories on it. So if you just wrote hangar AOPA hangar shortage in Google, you'll probably come up with a couple of hits that are AOPA stories about it.
Okay, and then just one carry on. I guess, is it tied to small single engine, multi-engine, or are you looking at like corporate size aircraft as well?
Great question. So I'm looking at our AOPA members and the airplanes they have. The vast majority are single engine pistons. There's a ton of multi-engine pistons. There's a very good number, not a majority, of single engine turboprops, Vision jets, twin engine turboprops, and Citations and Embraers and whatever else. So as you get higher on the spectrum of airplanes, the quantity gets a little bit lower, as would make sense. What we can tell you is, and it's a complex hangar challenge out there. But the smaller airports, like for all those of us in Northern Virginia, Culpeper, Manassas, even Leesburg, the airport authority or county owns, or in Leesburg, the town, they own the hangars. And in some case, they lease them out for 30 years. On a few rare occasions, like at Winchester just last year, the airport leased out a plot of land, and a third-party developer came in and built a beautiful row of 6 big condo hangars. And they are Taj Mahals, and they're big enough for big jets. But that's the difference of the many variables of hangar construction. For us, for pilots who need to rent hangars, the best option for us is to have an available hangar that's owned by the county or the town, and we rent it, and they're probably going to charge a fair price. And the least desirable for most of us, if I can speak for the gang, is again, most single engine, multi-engine piston folks. The least desirable is a community hangar owned by an FBO that may be charging a very premium price, and you can't get your airplane in and out without them helping you. And you probably can't wash it and wax it in the hangar, and you probably can't change the oil in the hangar. So there's a big spectrum of hangar experiences out there. I've seen groups of pilots band together and convince the airport to lease them a plot of land, and they'll build a row of T hangars, and then they manage it for 20 or 30 or 35 years, however long the land lease is good for, and they'll make a good run of it. But it's something we want to do as pilots, and if we have the financial means to do it, it's a great way to take care of your airplane. It's also an excellent way to make a small fortune out of a large fortune. Right, which is how we in aviation have mastered that art form, right? So, James, I don't know if that answers your questions, but there's a lot of ways to solve the hangar problem. It involves the airport manager, it involves the pilots, it involves hopefully some funding coming our way pretty soon, and it's one airport at a time. Is probably the short answer.
Awesome, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no sweat. I'll keep going, or unless you have another question.
Nope, that's good. Yeah.
So again, I'm not going to cover every one of these things, but the number one challenge facing general aviation today is the urgent need for us to get the lead out of 100 low lead. So I'll talk a little bit about that. First of all, some scientific facts. There's about 1 gram of lead in a gallon of 100 low lead. The industry, the fuel industry, calls it very low lead. We just know it as 100 low lead. It's 1 gram of lead per gallon. There are a few blenders and refiners that have 2 grams per lead to reach the right octane level, but that's what low lead was to begin with. So some, very few, have 2 grams. Most of us are burning 100 low lead that has 1 gram of lead in it. And I just mentioned that because and there's a big outcry nationwide ever since the EPA endangerment finding came out about lead and the harmful effects. So I can tell you, AOPA will say the following things loudly and proudly. There is no safe amount of lead in 100 low lead in gas. We are working very hard with the government team to get the lead out. We've been doing it for probably 15 years, almost 2 decades. There's almost $60 million that have been funded from the government to help this process, to test the fuels. You may remember the term PAFI, the Piston Aviation Fuel Initiative. That's still going on with only 1 remaining candidate fuel in there. 2 of the candidate fuels left the PAFI process and went the STC route. And you may know that GAMI got their fuel approved in September of 22. It's G100UL. And then Swift is very quickly working through the STC testing process. They're actually chasing an ASTM standard. And we expect their fuel to be finished with all its testing and probably approved later this year. So GAMI is approved now. Swift will be approved soon. And we think the remaining contender in the PAFI process will also have good success based on what we're seeing now. Most of this process, it's all wrapped into what's called the EAGLE initiative, Eliminate Aviation Gas Lead Emissions. There's plenty on the AOPA website about this. But the EAGLE initiative is the consortium of associations, AOPA, NATA, NBAA, EAA, the fuel blenders, the aviation fuel industry. I mean, it's the FAA is the co-chair of this with the aviation co-chair. So it's a government industry collaborative that's working hard to get it done. And the stated goal is to have the transition complete by 2030. What we want as this consortium is a smart and safe transition to an unleaded fuel. None of us wants to be left on the ramp because of a fast transition that doesn't have the octane we need for high compression engines or isn't good enough for rotary wing aircraft or warbirds or whatever. So that's the goal, and we're not going to give up on that. And we're actually making great progress. But ever since the EPA endangerment finding, there's been an outcry all over the country, and my team's working that at the city and state level, where there are some very overt threats to fuel at some of these towns and states. In fact, the fuel at Reed Hillview and San Martin out in San Jose has already been discontinued. This county that owned the airport made the decision to discontinue 100 low lead fuel sales. We didn't like it. We filed a Part 13 complaint. The lawyers got involved. They're going back and forth with pleadings, and it's now in the FAA's hands for a decision. So we're all anxiously waiting for the FAA to decide. Hopefully they'll require San Jose to start selling that fuel again because it's a safety problem. The last thing we want is for unilateral decisions at the local level to stop selling 100 low lead, which would create a patchwork of fuel that some of us need. I need it in my Bonanza. Gabe needs it in a Cirrus. But some of us require 100 low lead. And we can't use the 94 unleaded that's out there at about 60 airports right now. So the patchwork is what we're trying to protect against, because you land somewhere, maybe you didn't check the NOTAM for fuel, and you can't get fuel. Now you're pressed into some tough decision making or really tough logistics. So we are working hard to get the lead out, and we tell that to the states all the time when they introduce bills. We're fighting 2 states now, California and Colorado, state legislatures to tone down their leaded fuel bans that are going through the legislature right now. We've had great success in Colorado, and we're just getting ready in committee hearings next week to go up against a California bill that threatens the same threat to leaded fuel at the state level. This would be really bad for the industry. I'm happy to tell you that we've we've beaten 3 such bills in the last 2 years. We've beaten one this year so far, hopefully a second. So we've got a great track record using a cooperative and collaborative approach, educational approach. Most of the people that are dead set against lead in the fuel are amazed when they hear how long we've been working on this, and they're amazed at how far we've come, and they're amazed that there's an approved fuel that is merely just trying to get through racing itself to market. I tell them the analogy of it's the iPhone 17, which just got approved in design, and maybe they're starting to market it. Well, I want the iPhone 17 right now. Well, it's going to take a year and a half for them to create millions of them, distribute it into the stores, and then you can buy it. So that's where we're at. The fuels are coming, and we're happy with the progress. But we are right now fighting lots of local and statewide efforts to stop our fuel availability, which would really kill the industry. So 100 low lead is the big deal. If you come to Oshkosh or Son of Fun, you'll hear Mark Baker talking about it. What I would ask you all to do is, if you know that threat is bubbling up at your local airport, or you start hearing about it, or worse, you start seeing it on city council or county commission agendas, please let Gabe know so he can let me know instantly, so we can reach out and get the details, because that's what we do. We're probably working about 37 localities right now that have a credible threat that hasn't really materialized yet, but we're getting ahead of it. So I'll stop on that one because I'm sure that's a hot button for a lot of people.
Real quick on that, Mike. So one of the things that I'll tell you is that I do try to attend the the airport commission meetings on a monthly basis, and this is a very big topic that's coming out from the community around the airport, right? Those homes and homeowners around the airport. And so the commission's doing what they can to, have those conversations with the community and things like that. But this is something that the community and those schools around there, and the parents, everything, that it's a really big deal. And it's a huge topic of conversation in those airport commission meetings.
The best thing I could tell you to do as you guys hear about that stuff, guys and gals, is encourage anybody that you talk to go to AOPA.org. On our very front page, there's a whole section on the leaded fuel transition. There's frequently asked questions. There's information about why is there lead in the gas. The best thing we can do is educate the people that need to know, and I strongly recommend we continue to have a collaborative approach, an educational approach, as opposed to a condescending approach, and because it doesn't work. So that has worked for us very well at the state level. Most of the cities have listened. I can tell you with personal experience that the one county that discontinued 100 low lead went to great lengths to have a study done and captured all the known science and data on lead and the EPA's findings on lead, and it's harmful to especially the young children. It causes them developmental problems. And we have never defended lead. AOPA is not going to do it. The Eagle Initiative is never going to defend lead. We're working hard to get the lead out. So when we come to the table with these folks that are really passionate about this, we enjoin them to help us get it done faster. So instead of putting restrictions on the fuel, we encourage them to take their legislative power or city council power and do things that would entice the faster, safe, and smart transition. That's what we did in Colorado. They went from a 50-cent a gallon remediation fee on 100 low lead and a ban starting in 2026 to tax credits for pilots who may incur a fee for an STC. And the state aviation department was authorized $1.5 million in spending authority to help airports with transition expenses, whatever they may be. So we went from a very big negative to a couple of great positives that help us incentivize the transition rather than block it and stop it. So that's the best thing I can tell you. If you all are in the church and I'm the preacher, the hymnal is collaboratively approach the people that have differing opinions, get them the information they need by pulling some stuff off the AOPA website, give them the website address, And if it's really a fast moving train, get me involved as fast as you can, and we'll take over and we'll start engaging. And we've got a pretty good track record. So,
Thank you.
all right. We have another thing we've been working on for about 6 years, and it's to try to get the FBO industry, the high end of the FBO industry, the chain FBOs, to offer fair and reasonable parking fees. If anybody's ever gone to one of the larger chain FBOs and parked for an hour for lunch, or got gas and parked, or did an overnight, we've got 3,400 complaints to our database right now of members who have been completely shocked by the cost to park at FBO in St. Augustine, for example. A member flew up in from Ormond Beach up to St. Augustine. It's about a 15-minute flight in his home-built Lancer Evolution. Nice little turboprop, neat little four-seater, no different than a Cirrus SR22, just a different power plant. And launched out of home base full of gas, only had 15 gallons, 20 gallons burned out. And they went to lunch for an hour, parked, and they were hit with a $300 parking fee. And they were told $250 of that, I think, I'm going from memory here, could be waived if they purchased the 54 gallons of fuel they needed to waive the fee. Well, he didn't have enough room in his tanks to do that. So, and this airplane was parked right next to a Cirrus, and at the time this fee was assessed, the Cirrus was at about $40 to park. So there's a big dichotomy in the pricing structure and who gets charged what. I think the difference there was if it burns Jet A, you pay more. I don't know why. I don't know their pricing strategy. But that was just one example. We've got thousands of examples like that. So we've been working hard to collect that data and try to get some fair and reasonable pricing. We had pretty good success getting the entire FBO industry, or almost the entire FBO industry, to transparently advertise their fees to reduce the surprise factor. And I'll tell you that 92% of the FBOs in the country, and there's 3,300 FBOs, 92%, if they do charge a parking fee, it's reasonable, which means it's about $10. I think 10, 15 bucks is the average price for a single engine piston to park overnight somewhere. A friend of mine brings a King Air to our airport out in Western Maryland, and his fee for a twin engine King Air is $35 overnight. That is a very fair and reasonable fee. The first night's usually waived if you buy gas. Everybody's kind of familiar with it. But there's a lot of higher end aircraft and higher end FBOs that are charging some pretty crazy fees, and we're trying to work on behalf of our members to get those right sized. We haven't had any luck. We tried the legislative route, that didn't work too well. So we're still working on it, and all I can tell you there is let us know if you get hit with a fee like that really blew you away. I would also encourage you to do some due diligence and pre-flight planning. Check the airport directory on AOPA's website. Call the FBO you're gone to, or check their website. A lot of them have their prices online now, thanks to our transparency initiative. So there's a lot that you can learn before you go. So I would encourage you to do that just to reduce the surprise factor. But the last thing we want to see is when there's a single big FBO at a very desirable destination. It doesn't matter. Key West, Hilton Head, there's 50, 60 great airports around the country that we'd like to fly to. And what we don't want to see is you make a different decision, and therefore you don't go to a public use airport that's publicly funded because it's ridiculously high prices. There's lots of places that you can land for gas, a gas and go or whatever. And most of us fly around with the 100 low lead tab enabled on our 4-flight iPads, and that's where I land. I look for the greens and I land there because remember, I'm broke too. I just bought another airplane.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's how we think as GA pilots, and we're working on that. And if you have big, really ridiculous examples, that's another thing you can get a hold of AOPA, call the PIC, the Pilot Information Center, and let them know your experience. There's actually a link on our webpage. If you have an experience like that, throw your experience in there. It'll ask you a bunch of questions.
So if I could, Mike, do you mind if I just share something real quick on this?
Please, yeah.
So, you and I spoke about this. I think I actually sent you a note on this about a year ago, or maybe less than a year. A bunch of my buddies and I, we flew down to Key West, right? And, we landed. We didn't really know that there was a big event going on. Didn't really do that work and plan. So lesson learned there. The reason why I'm sharing this is because of that. So we landed, and when I was walking out of the FBO, the lady at the front desk said, well, you do realize there's an event fee. And I said, I just kind of thought it was a joke. And she said, no, I'm serious. And I said, well, how much is it? And it was $250, right? And so each of us had a $250 fee just for, a sling and a Cirrus. And so unbeknownst to us, we didn't know that. And so planning could have definitely made us aware we would still probably win. It was just a little bit shocking, right? And so
Did you go to the event?
turns out we it turns out we did. So it just kind of happened. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
boat race, offshore boat racing. It was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we had zero clue what was going on, and we go down there every year. And so for those that are listening, take Mike's advice on that. Do your planning, do your due diligence, making sure that you know what to expect. And so again, we probably still would have went, but it was just one of those things that was definitely alarming as far as that amount of fee. But
Yeah.
so anyways.
That's a good point, Gabe. What I'll tell you more about the special event fees, they generally happen when there's a big event, a big sporting event, or whatever. In this case, you said it was a boat race. The latest example, and you'll find plenty online. We've done several stories on this. Was the F1 races, Formula One races in Vegas back in October, and then the Super Bowl in February. The starting fee, special event fee, was $3,000, and that got you the reservation to park. It was the reservation for dinner. It wasn't the price for dinner. So that got you the reservation to park at two of the county-owned airports, and at Harry Reid, LAS. The FBOs there charged anywhere from $3,000 to $14,000 just for the reservation to park. So, and then on top of that was the parking fee and whatever other services you got. The most ridiculous example I heard at LAS during the Super Bowl was a $23,000 fee to drop a passenger. So special event fees, here's, we dove into this. We're trying to learn more about it. We've learned a couple things. Special event fees are assessed by either the sponsor. So in the case of North Las Vegas and Henderson Airport, Henderson Executive, the county, Clark County, owns those airports. They're the sponsor. So they impose the fee. And we engaged with them, and they were very sharing with the information. They were trying to cover their costs. They actually incurred about $1 million in extra costs at those two airports. They brought in a professional air boss team. They brought in porta potty. They brought in catering dishwashing vans that caterers could wash the dishes and cater the jets that needed that servicing. They had extra line people. I mean, the list was incredible. They spent just right at $1 million, and I think they took in 1.1 or 1.2 million. So we didn't see a profit motive there. We saw them trying to cover their costs, which the FAA encourages airports to do. The philosophy in the FAA compliance manual is that airports strive to be financially self-sustaining, and we like that. We don't want airports to be requiring 50% of their operating revenue to come from the general fund of the county or city they're in, because that's an airport that's going to die very quickly if that happens. So the problem with the special event fee of $3,000 is most GA pilots will not go to the event in their airplane if that's the fee to land. Clark County, to their credit, lowered that fee to $750 for Group 1 airplanes, which is basically a Cessna 421 and smaller. So $750 was the price for the Formula One, and then for the Super Bowl for, I should say, guys like us, the GA piston singles and twins. But even $750, as you're told to get on the runway, on the park, is a barrier to entry. It would be for me. I mean, if I had to choose $750 to land Bonanza, we would fly commercially, and I'd spend less than $750 round trip. And the result is, because of the fee, I didn't use that publicly funded airport with the gas that I wanted to fly to get there. And to us, that's a problem. These are publicly funded airports, and they ought to be reasonably accessible to all aeronautical users. And that's a founding principle of our effort to fight these unfair and unreasonable FBO fees. So we also learned in the middle of that the FAA doesn't have very good policy, or really any policy, that is put out for airport managers to use and to guide their setting of special event fees. And we are pestering the FAA on that, because there's another clause in the compliance manual that specifically says, yeah, we want you to be financially self-sustaining, But if the fee is not reasonable, that reasonableness takes precedent over the self-sustaining principle. So we think there's tangential guidance there. We're going to try to get the FAA to clear that up for us. But that's just one of the many areas we're fighting for our members at AOPA. So I'll talk very quickly about Mosaic. I'm certainly not an expert on it, but that's coming out soon. The notice of proposed rulemaking comment period just ended. All the associations gave excellent comments. In a nutshell, it's going to expand the light sport category so that you can have heavier aircraft than 1,320 pounds, more seats, more power, more complex engines. And it's going to open up a lot of typical GA airplanes to the light sport category, which as all of us reach the 75, 80-year-old range, I hope we're all flying by then. I certainly plan to be. We're going to run up against an insurance problem, an insurability problem, and light sport might be the way to go. So it's going to open up a lot of options. We're very excited about Mosaic. EAA has really done a great job with some of the work there, but look for Mosaic to come out soon. And when it does, your sling buddy, Gabe, is probably happy about it. We're going to start seeing more airplanes come out once Mosaic is signed, I think. It's my opinion here. But I think we're going to see more manufacturers and internationally come out with faster, better, cooler airplanes that weren't previously allowed to be in the light sport category. So I think it's going to be good for GA all around. So that was really all I wanted to talk about advocacy. If there's any more questions right now, or I can keep going, I can always come back to this.
Really no more questions. Actually, there's one here. Andy said, I have gas STC on my plane. Can most or more planes get this STC? Could help with the bans of 100 low loud when people can't find the fuel.
Yeah, great question. A lot of people are going the MOGAS route. You do need an STC for that. That's up to the engine manufacturer to see if it's legal, right? The STC will be published by Continental, Lycoming, whomever. And then MOGAS may or may not be sold at your local airport. It's rare, but it is sold. So you'd probably be looking at tankering your own fuel into the airport, which is legal. You're allowed to self-service your aircraft. You got to comply with airport rules. They may require you pull the airplane out of the hangar before you fuel it. That would make sense. But MOGAS is a solution for the aircraft that don't need 100 octane fuel. So you can't really buy 100 octane MOGAS. I mean, what's the highest octane you buy at the pump now? 93 octane maybe? So that's not enough for high compression IO 550s, 540s, and stuff like that. Our airplanes that have higher compression require the 100 octane, or else we start suffering detonation and bad things happen. So that's short of that.
That's all I got in the chat for right now.
All right. I am going to switch to the chart here and show you this beautiful thing. But AOPA is turning 85 years old on May 15th, and we're going to celebrate that with a grand display of about 61 airplanes flying right down Independence Avenue in Washington, D.C. on Saturday, May 11th from noon to 1 o'clock. And your very own Gabe Muller is going to be in that mix with his Cirrus. And Gabe, tell us a little bit about what you know about this so far and what your thoughts are.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation for joining. I mean, I'm thrilled and really humbled by that. As far as what I know, I mean, boy, the information that you've sent out so far has been amazing. We're really looking forward to the brief that we have coming up soon, and just that. So the thought and detail that you have put into this is amazing, based on what I know so far. And as far as where we're headed, through that airspace and all of that, it's incredible. And so I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, great. So the National Celebration of General Aviation DC Flyover is the long name. And we are going to celebrate 85 years of the incredible contributions that GA has given to this country since 1939. 1939 was commonly referred to as the golden age of aviation. And that airplane you see, the Stagger Wing, that's actually our president's airplane, Mark Baker. And he's going to fly that airplane as the lead airplane to lead these 61 airplanes down the National Mall on Saturday, May 11th. We've got 15 chapters of the general aviation story we're going to tell. Our goal is to get this to a national audience. We obviously think pilots will think it's cool and maybe can join in and watch it live or watch it afterwards. It'll be available on AOPA's YouTube channel. Tom Haynes, our former editor, and Miles O'Brien, who's a PBS NewsHour and CNN Aviation contributor, also a pilot and a member of ours. Those two gentlemen are going to be our narrators, and they're going to be on a rooftop of a building down in the mall with several cameras, and they'll be all mic'd up talking about the airplanes that are flying by the Washington Monument. And we're starting with the Golden Age, which is Mark Baker's Stagger Wing and a Fairchild 24, and I think we have a Howard DGA in there, all 39 vintage airplanes. And then we tell the story of GA all the way up through the present day. We're going to have trainers and home builts and rotary wing and public service aircraft of AT-802 fire bosses and Maryland State Police helicopters. And we've got a corporate aviation chapter with a bunch of a Lear 35, the iconic Lear 35, you know, with the beautiful tip tanks, and King Air and a CJ3. We've got light sport chapter with an Icon and a Sting and an RV-12. We've got a backcountry getaway chapter with Cessna 180 and, you know, Kodiak 900. I mean, it's really a neat collection of airplanes. We've got one of the last remaining airworthy beach starships coming up from Texas to be a part of this in a safety and technology chapter. Gabe's going to be flying his Cirrus in the safety and technology chapter, which is going to talk all about the incredible advancements of carbon fiber aircraft and aircraft with parachute systems and really cool panels and side stick controls and all the cool stuff that came with the technological advancements. So that's going to be May 11th from noon to 1. The rain date is Sunday, May 12th, which is Mother's Day. And what wife wouldn't think this is the coolest way to spend an hour on Mother's Day, to watch this on YouTube? If anybody's local to DC area and wants to watch it live on the mall, we have nothing scheduled for a presentation on the mall. So you're welcome to go down there as a citizen and watch it live. My strong recommendation is make sure you have some earbuds and you're tuned into a YouTube channel so you can hear the narration as they're gone by. So that would be the way to enrich that experience. We're encouraging pilots all over the country to host watch parties. There might be a speak out, you know, addendum if you wanted to do that on your channel, Gabe, but it's going to be a neat operation, and it's going to happen Saturday, May 11th. I'm going to give you a little taste of two of the charts that I'm briefing all the pilots tomorrow night for a pre-brief, and then we're going to do it again in May. But we're actually closing Frederick Airport for 2 hours for this. We're closing National Airport, DCA, for 1 hour. And we've got full support of Congress, the FAA, Secret Service, TSA, Capitol Police, and everybody else you can imagine. And they're actually very excited about this. We did a practice flight on Sunday, a week ago, and it couldn't have gone more flawlessly. And you're going to see it on AOPA's threads and news releases coming out, I think, as early as tomorrow. You'll see the video and the audio. It's a pretty cool experience, seeing a caravan and we had Pete Montine with CNN flying his Super Decathlon. He was all GoPro'd up, and he's going down the mall having an interview with Colin Stagnito, our current editor, and it was just kind of neat thing. So that'll all be coming out tomorrow if you want to take a look. But here's a snapshot of the course we're flying down from Frederick. We're going to go right into the SFRA. Potomac's going to clear us into the Class B. We're aiming for that little golf course, but golf course doesn't mean anything. We're just aiming for the river. And from there, we kind of intercept the river and go all the way down into the flight restricted zone and then into P56. And, you know, on our practice flight, we caught a bunch of these pictures to kind of help the prep the pilots and what they can expect to see. But and then here's what it'll look like going through downtown DC. And this will be published in a little bit more of a simple to understand thing for the general public. We're putting this out in all the local news outlets. For people that want to watch it, they'll know where we're going to go. But we're going right over the Lincoln Memorial, south of the Washington Monument, heading towards the Smithsonian Castle, turning right, and then we head down the river and head home. So it's only about maybe 30 seconds in the P56 prohibited area, but it's all approved. It's all been blessed, and we still continue to stand off the few of the rough edges, but we had a great practice last week. So tune in. It'll be a cool thing for GA, and that's why we're doing this. I wanna help tell the story of GA to the whole country. I think pilots get it, right? But there's so many people that if you say airplane to them, they're going to say 747. And if you say, what's the last thing you know about an airplane? They're going to say the crash that I saw in the news last week. Pick a town, pick a city. It's, airplane crashes make front page news, whether they're successful or unsuccessful for the occupants. And the truth of it all is our accident rate's never been better. General Aviation does fantastic things for our communities. They're huge economic drivers at the local airport level, and it brings economic impact to the local cities. It's the off ramp from the national airspace system to every town that's got businesses that have people fly in to do business. And it's a great story to tell, and all of you should be disciples and tell the story and send them to the website for more information. So there you go.
That's awesome.
I'll get
Well
off my
done on that.
soapbox.
I mean, yeah, no, I love it. Thank you for all of this. I mean, that's so cool that you guys are doing this, and I'm thrilled. I have a lot of friends that are flying in that as well. And one of the Fairchilds, I think, that might be out there.
Yeah.
My buddy
Yeah.
James is helping
They
fly a
just finished
helicopter.
upgrading that airplane. Yeah.
Yeah. So someone asked a question here. Good question. Worst case planning. What happens if someone loses an engine? What's the plan there? Is it a abort to Reagan, Potomac? What's that look like? What's the thoughts on that?
Excellent question. The briefing that I'm going to give these folks is first of all, we have to comply with everything we learn about flying in the SFRA. We're all graduates of the SFRA training course, so we know we're never to squawk 1200. We're never not to squawk. And if there's an emergency, we're telling all the pilots, declare it, get on, tell Potomac. Potomac will be controlling us the whole way through, but declare it with Potomac and then be the PIC. If you have a rough running engine and you want to put it on the ground, there's like 6 airports along the route of flight that are within 5 miles. I mean, the route of flight goes through the 5-mile rings of like 6 airports that are suitable diverts: Gaithersburg, Davis, College Park, DCA is an option. It's closed. I'll be in the tower at DCA to coordinate any of that stuff. So the pilot and command is going to handle it just like they handle it anywhere else. God forbid something happens on the mall, their vector is to turn south and get clear of densely populated areas. That's the worst case. And if that's the worst case, well then we've got a plan to minimize any problems on the ground. That's the most important thing for this kind of an evolution, right? So, but we've got a pretty good plan. We've got plans if an airplane goes Nordo. Every airplane will have a full detailed briefing on every frequency to expect. And I've already got the beacon codes assigned for all 60 airplanes on May 11th. That's how far we are in the planning, which is great. I mean, that's cool that the FAA and TSA and Secret Service, they're really putting their shoulders behind this. And the best example I can tell you is last Sunday when we did the practice with 4 airplanes, we needed 1 TSA agent to check 14 government issued IDs. We needed 1 Secret Service agent to fly in one of the airplanes. We gave them the choice of airplanes. And we had 2 FSDO reps, an ops inspector and a airworthiness inspector to do the ramp checks. We had 4 people that we needed from the government. We ended up with 2 Secret Service agents, 12 TSA agents, and 4 FAA people. And 5 others joined us on the Teams call for the briefing from the Potomac TradeCon. So that proved to us that this is something they all want to see happen. And we've got great collaboration with the government. It's been a very good process to plan this. So I've been kind of lucky with that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. That's really cool.
All right. So I think I'm getting close to the end here, but if you didn't know it, none of you won the sweepstakes airplane, the 170B we just gave away. Sorry about that. Great story online of a guy who won as a Southwest pilot out. And we gave it away at Buckeye, Arizona at the Buckeye Fly-In. He was blown away, but that was the airplane. We turned it into a backcountry beast and it was phenomenal. It was such a cool experience. Colin Stagnito, our senior editor for the AOPA magazine, just went out and bought a 170 that's got a perfect paint job. And I said, how's the engine? He said, it's worn out. I said, why'd you buy it? He said, because I want to do what we did to the sweeps airplane. He's going to put the 195 horsepower Supreme engine on it. he's gonna build his own just like this. So the next airplane we're giving away is right there on the screen. It's a 1958 straight tail 182. And the paint scheme is exactly as what appeared on the very first issue of AOPA Pilot magazine in March of 1958. So we're going back to our roots. It's got that paint scheme on it right now, and we're in the process of redoing the interior, the engine. It'll be on display at all the AOPA events this year. I encourage you to come out and look. If you're a member, you're already enrolled. If you're on automatic annual renewal, you get a couple extra. If you're a donor, you get a couple extra. And there's other ways to get more entries, but you can check the website for that. The website's there on the screen. But that's a pretty fun thing. I think it's the best time our boss has every year is when he gives away a free airplane, and it's Christmas time for him. So
That was cool. I watched the video of that just yesterday, I think. I saw it,
yeah,
but you know, the Southwest pilot literally had no idea. It was like, raise everybody or put your hand down if you didn't have this rating or something like that.
right.
And yeah, that was a really cool way you guys did that. So
Well, I'm not involved in all that, but I can tell you, I heard all the people talking about it as it was leading up. I think it was, we had an insider who was a relative of one of our staff members who works at Southwest in HR. And once we figured out who the winner was, and by the way, that's given to us by a third party outside kind of consultant thing. It's completely auditable. It's, you know, I wouldn't be allowed to tape your ticket to the bottom of the fishbowl so you win. It's not like one of those deals, right? So once we were given the winner and we started scheming, the Mark and his leadership team, we found that we had an in with HR at Southwest, and Southwest got a hold of this winner's friend, and the friend started conspiring with us, and that's what led to a Southwest booth at the Buckeye Airfair and the Buckeye Fly-In. Now, Southwest Airlines is at a GA airport with a booth, and Southwest paid for it. They brought staff, they did signage, they did everything legit. An airline was at the Buckeye Fly-In that AOPA hosted.
wow.
Now, that's a little out of the ordinary, right?
Right.
But he went, and he was required, voluntold, to go, and they changed his schedule, so he was off the schedule. So he could go to Buckeye. He's from Phoenix. It was close. And of course, then Colin and the team and Mark, they kind of conjured up that morning how they would do it at the end of the pilot town hall. Get everybody out, spy the airplane, and raise your hand. And did all that, and it worked out flawlessly. So
That is
yeah,
awesome.
it was good. It was good.
Cool. Very cool.
All right. Well, I think I'm almost done here. I wanted to offer something to everybody here. If you like what you see and you're not an AOPA member and you are a pilot, a personal plea that you ought to consider joining. And if you snap a picture of that QR code, it'll get you $10 off. So you'll come in at 79, not 89 bucks. But I can tell you now, especially with what we're doing in government affairs, we need our members more than ever when we're fighting some of these bills in the federal level and the state level to join our call to call our elected leaders and say, don't do this or do that, because the power of our voice is what moves the needle in these local advocacy fights. It's how we beat privatization 5 years ago. It's how we got basic med done. There's now 75,000 pilots that have qualified for basic med, and that's in 6 years. So it's pretty incredible stuff. So if you're interested and you're not a member, snap a picture of that QR code right here on your screen. I just checked it before I got online. And if you want me to send you one of these personally or talk to you about it, drop your email in the chat, and I'll grab that after the call and respond to you personally. I'll be happy to talk to anybody of you about joining. So there it is, $10 off. If you're not a member, please join today. We need you. And you know what? You need us, because we're doing a lot for you, whether you're a member or not. So.
Cool. Well, thank you for all you do and the advocacy. So I appreciate that.
My pleasure. There's my information. If you want to reach me after this, I'll be happy to talk to any of you. And at that point, I'll shut up and take any other questions.
Awesome, Mike. Thank you so much. I mean, this was great and really awesome to kind of just hear and see overall what you all are working on. I mean, it's a ton, and it really does help general aviation and all of us that have that passion. So thank you for everything. Is there any questions out there that maybe we didn't get to? Feel free to pull yourself off of mute and throw a camera on or whatever you want to do. Anything and everything.
Well, I got a question. Who's going to Sun and Fun?
I hope
Gustav, you
someone
going?
comes off of mute and says they are. Come on.
Gustav, you going to Sun and Fun?
Sun and Fun's
30-45 minutes from me. I'm definitely there.
Well, good. You gonna fly or drive?
Well, right now the plan's to drive, but I know somebody will want a passenger on their ride over, on their flight over. So I'll tag along with someone.
Very good. All right, Neil, what about you?
Sorry?
You going to Sun and Fun?
Yeah, that was me. I was saying
Oh, that was you, Neil.
that
What
was
about
me, yeah.
What about Gustav? I was looking at Gustav. Are you going?
Oh, I can't hear you, buddy.
Yeah, you're muted, Gustav. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, it looks like Zoom's good, but for whatever reason, your audio is not coming through.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. You going to Sun and Fun? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Gabe, tell me where are you going to be at Sun and Fun, and what do you have planned all week?
Yeah, so we will be arriving on Monday. We'll be flying down on Monday, and we will be camping. So lots of us are headed down. We'll be camping multiple different things down there. And then as far as the group, the club, we will have a booth in Hangar Delta, Hangar Delta Spot 71, I believe, right beside Best Hug. So we're going to be right there. It's basically the last hangar, but when you're walking through the campgrounds, it's what you walk right through. So it's a perfect spot. And so we'll be hanging out there all week. And we are literally, after this call, I'm going to be loading things up so that we can get them to the vehicle. Because we got all kinds of stuff we're taking down. And so we'll have the booth. So if anyone is making it down, Mike, I'd love to have you on the new podcast we're launching. That'd be awesome if you can come over and we can have a conversation further. And it'd be great if you're open to it. But that's what we'll be. And we'll be there through Sunday for sure. So the whole week.
Very good. You're camping in a tent or a trailer?
It'll be a trailer, and then I got a buddy that's taking his Class A down. We got all kinds of fun stuff happening, so we're gonna have kind of like a compound down there. And so, look for the Smokehouse flag. We'll be flying it. So
I will. I'm gonna change my plan. I've always stayed at the hotel that AOPA gets for us, but I'm staying in a tent on the grounds, and I'm going to experience Sun and Fun nightlife like I've never done it before. Hopefully.
well, pack that poncho and make sure you got a tarp for that tent somewhere.
Exactly.
It always happens. I went to my first Sun and Fun was in 2019. As a matter of fact, I just saw the video pop up on my memories today on Facebook or the other day, and it's hard to believe that was my first Sun and Fun, and I've been ever since. I mean, I guess not when COVID happened or whatever, but it is the coolest thing. It is so different, I feel like, than Oshkosh. And I don't, Mike, I don't know if your thoughts on that, but Oshkosh is just massive.
It is.
Fun is at least, I feel like, manageable. So,
yeah, no, it's a totally different experience, yet it's very similar in a lot of ways, right? Yeah, I've been to Oshkosh. This will be my 17th year, and I fell into that when I first bought the T6, and I keep going back now. I still take a T6 that belongs to a buddy of mine. So I camp in Warburg camping at Oshkosh, and we've been getting trailers, and we have the same, just like you did at Sun and Fun. We have a group of us that always camps together. And
yep.
So at Sun and Fun, it's I used to take the T6 down there and get together with all my Warburg buddies, and it was fun, but it was never easy to get a trailer and get the whole thing going at Sun and Fun. I've got friends that camp out down there, so yeah, it's I love Sun and Fun. I mean, I lived in Florida for most of my Navy career, so I love it down there. I got friends. I always hook up with them. But I'll definitely slide by and see you guys, and probably see you after hours as well. Might have to borrow a cup of sugar or
something. That's great. Lori, it looks like you came off mute and came on camera.
I did. So why'd you sell the T6? I gotta know.
I was stupid.
The reason why I ask is because I'm actually in the funnel to get a T6 checkout this year. So
where are you gonna get that?
Out in Ohio.
Okay.
So
I sold the T6. I'll tell you what my thinking was. I wish I wouldn't have, looking back, but my thinking at the time was, I love that airplane. I put 1,200 hours on it and an engine in 12 years. What I wanted to do with that airplane was to take it apart, strip it, prime it, get rid of all the World War II wire bundles and radio racks. And it was a original configuration airplane. I mean, that airplane was at Whiting Field, 1943 and 44.
Wow.
Went to the Spanish military for 30 years. So it had excellent maintenance up until 86, like most T6s did, right? And So I maintained it and improved something every year, but I was still on a very fixed income like I am now. But I mean, I was doing what I could to improve it. It needed a paint job, needed to be stripped, primed, and painted. It needed, probably better instruments. The most expensive thing I put into it was a $3,000 Garmin transponder, way before ADS-B was required. So it needed to be taken apart, rebuilt, and rewired, and new flight control cables. And to do that, and I'm not an AMP, it would have been about 100 grand,
Yeah.
and it would have added about 40 grand to the value of the airplane. That was my airplane at the time. If I was going to keep it for life, I wouldn't have cared.
Right.
But I, at the time, was thinking, okay, I'll sell it. I made a little more than I paid for it. It was in great shape, and I was thinking about getting another one that had already been redone. Well, one thing led to another, and I changed jobs, and I wanted to make sure that was not going to be a financial problem. So I waited till I had a couple of years under my belt, and then we started looking for T6s, and I found a Bonanza. So, yeah. The good news is Lori, I had 1,200 hours, and I was president of the Type Club, so I'm on like 6 T6s insurance. And 2 times or every year, I've got 2 buddies that ask me to take their T6s to Oshkosh or Sun and Fun.
I want to be you when I grow up.
Well, I fell into it, and I'll tell you, how you do it is you get a lot of time in an airplane. Don't ever mess up. Know your friends who have those airplanes. And I mean, I hate to say this, but 2 of my buddies say, "Hey, can you bring the T6 to Oshkosh for me? I'm bringing the Corsair, or I'm bringing the Mustang," and they want to have
Yeah.
it there. And so these are seriously first world problems that I don't have. But, so I love it. I still do it, and I still get annual recurrent training. I go down to 96 South Carolina to Warbird Adventures, fly with a guy named Tom Richard, and just a phenomenal training experience. And
Yeah, Tom is on my list, but I'm a member of the Commemorative Air Force, and I'm in the funnel to get checked out for NELA. So their recommendation is the lady Laura, I believe is her name, out in Ohio.
okay.
And so I'm going to go there first, but I'll probably end up with Tom because, whatever the average number of hours is, I need twice to figure it out. So,
Well, I'll tell you what, having been to Tom's place, he was in Kissimmee for a number of years, Warbird
yep.
Adventures, and he bought a place up in 96 South Carolina. It's a dot on the map. It's a tiny little dot, and it's a, I don't know, 2,200-foot grass strip, and the house is included. It's 104 acres. It's phenomenal. He's got some great plans for that place, but everybody that I had allowed to fly my T6, I would require them to go see Tom and get checked out. And he would run them through the 10-hour checkout. Most of them needed 7, 8, 8.5 hours because they already knew how to use their feet. They were tail dragger people. But this is high performance, complex, heavy, 6,000-pound airplane. And if they came back with his stamp of approval, I threw him the keys, and the first hour was on me. And then they would, share the cost with me and fly the T6. So there's plenty of people that'll do that, and it's all about a great attitude and take care of the airplane and wipe the bugs off when you're done, and all the stuff that you want done for your airplane, right?
Exactly.
And that's what I do. I mean, I nurture those relationships. They're all great friends, but and they trust me. That the key is trust, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a great way to stay broke and happy, and that's where I was one time.
Yes. Absolutely.
Can you hear me now?
There you are. Hey,
Hey.
You are?
Hey, yeah, no, I wish I could go to Sun and Fun, but I actually have my MEI and double I check ride scheduled on the 9th. So,
wow. Where are you
yeah,
going? Where are you going through that?
I'm actually with ATP Flight School right now, so I'm almost done. Just 2
Very
more check
good.
rides.
You're on a
You got any
rocket ship
tips,
to the
pointers
biz.
for it?
Any tips?
Yeah, just last minute tips or anything like that you can think of.
When I was in command of a Navy squadron, I used to tell my young pilots, when the light's on you, you can only do one thing: shine. So there you go. Don't screw it up.
Yeah, I'll try not to.
With that kind of training, I'm sure you won't. That's professional stuff there at ATP.
That's awesome. I'm really happy for you. That's really cool. I mean, I remember you and I we met down there in Norfolk about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I was still a private pilot just then. I remember telling you about it, but took the
Yeah.
jump and I was like, all right, there I'm go.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
I got my CFIs now, commercial pilot's license. I got my comp multi I just passed last week.
Wow.
So
Good for
been
you.
pretty quick. Been pretty quick. I started August 28th and going on due to weather delays, I'm going on month 7 now. So
So you're gonna come work
just
for
about
AOPA,
done.
or you're gonna go to the major airlines? What's your goal?
Well, my goal since I was in 3rd grade is airlines. So working my way there step by step, you know.
Very good.
But
That's
I hope
fun.
to maybe AOP seems like a pretty good organization. Maybe
I
the
love it.
time being afterwards.
I paid dues for 20 years. I was telling Gabe this earlier. I paid dues for 20 years and loved my membership. I never even used my membership. I never needed the legal services. I never needed the medical services. All I wanted was the magazine because it's a phenomenal magazine. And it wasn't until I started interviewing for the job and I read every page of the website, which took me hours, and I realized how deep this company is and what they do for pilots. I had no clue. I mean, I had no clue. Advocacy. Tell me about advocacy. What does that mean? I don't know. So, but it's pretty deep. The fight. We're on the front line of all the big fights in general aviation. It's pretty cool stuff.
Absolutely. Well, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
good stuff. Anything else from anyone before we wrap it up for this evening? Anything?
Yeah, quick note from me. You mentioned your first Sun and Fun. I recently found my T-shirt from my first Sun and Fun, 1992.
Nice.
Wow,
I was in college at the time.
that's awesome. You got to wear it.
Yeah, I am going to definitely.
That's awesome. Swing by for sure.
Gabe,
I'll come find you.
Thank you for having me tonight, Gabe. I really appreciate joining the Smokehouse Pilots and hope to see you at another event soon. And I
Sounds
know we're
great.
in the same neighborhood, so I'll see you
Yep.
in May for the flyover too. So,
Absolutely. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike, and everyone. I hope you all have a great night. Mike, I'll see you tomorrow, and we will go from there. But thank you all for tuning in this evening and spending it with us. I hope you all have a good night.
And
Thank
Gabe,
you.
there was a question just popped in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Somebody asked me what squadron, and I commanded VS-30 Diamond Cutters at NAS Jacksonville, 2003, 2004.
There you go.
I don't know who asked that question, but I saw it pop in. So.
Awesome.
Whoop,
Hey, well,
there you go.
everyone have a great night. Thank you all so much. Mike, thank you
All right,
so much for your
thanks.
time. Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.
You bet, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gabe. Have a
Take
good
care,
one.
everyone. See everyone. Thank you.